Every single day I was at the school district office. I wrote the grant, we won, and then everything proceeded from there.
We are live here on the Owwll podcast for another amazing episode. We are going to learn all about grants today. I'm super excited about my guest today because you see this book right here, The Queen of Grants. You know, she just put it out on Amazon and is a top seller, and I am part of the book. It's the first time I've ever been part of the book, so I'm super excited. Before we get into our guest Libby today, I'm joined by my co-host, Ellie Santra. Ellie, what is going on? It's Valentine's Day. Love the outfit. Tell us what's happening.
Thank you. I did this just for today. No, I mean, I wish.
Me too. Look, I have a little bit already. Me.
No, I don't. I just realized that it's been a year since I've been doing this podcast because last year on Valentine's Day, I released a single and it was a sad love song and I launched it on the Owwll podcast. So it's pretty crazy that it's been a full year here. But enough about me. Let's get into our guest today.
Okay, Libby, introduce yourself and tell us, why are you the Queen of Grants?
I'm Libby Hikind. I'm founder and CEO of GrantWatch. And I'm the Queen of Grants because Jason said I am. In 2021,
Yes.
I appeared on Shrimp Tank, and that's how he introduced me. And the name stuck, and everybody's been introducing me since then. And that's how we got the title of the book.
You know what's crazy is like just things come out of my mouth sometimes and I don't know what sticks. Sometimes it's positive stuff, sometimes it's negative stuff. But I'm so happy because when you reached out to me out of the blue, I was like, I'm going to be in a book. I was super excited. I called you. I was like, this is great. You know, that I'm so honored that I'm in the book, of course. And more importantly, I believe in your mission, right? I'm a New Yorker. You're a New Yorker. We both moved down here. And when I look at what you're doing, helping so many nonprofits, obviously there's grants also for private companies as well. We know that, but majority of these nonprofits struggle so much. Every week I have a podcast show or two, and consistently people need help on this subject. So can you kind of lean into GrantWatch? What is it all about?
Well, GrantWatch is the website that lets nonprofits, businesses, and individuals know what grants are available. And it's very easy. You subscribe to the website. It's minimal amount, and you have full access. And every day we add new grants. There are grants coming up. I just looked at my phone just while I was sitting here, and there is a grant for American artists, painters, and they have to be 45 and over and submit 10 pieces and jury of their peers. And
It's crazy. I didn't know that like individual people could get grants. I thought it was all just nonprofits. And now as you're speaking, I'm like, I have the perfect person for that grant. Like, so I
Right.
feel like what you've created is similar to Owwll, where you are connecting people with the right resources. And like, that's what we try to do is just connecting other people to the right people. So I can really see how you are going to be really influential on our platform with so many different entrepreneurs, artists, CEOs, nonprofits. I feel like it's just going to be a beautiful collaboration between the two of us.
I joined last night,
Yeah.
and I was having dinner, and I just said, "Okay, let me see what this is really all about," because I'm coming on the podcast. And I put it asked me how many minutes. I said 1 minute, and all of a sudden my phone rang.
Yeah.
And there was somebody, this woman who teaches financial literacy.
Mm.
I don't
Nice.
remember her name, but she's in my on my
She's in your
list.
history. Yeah.
In my history, and she wants to do it in the high schools. And I was like, the minute I heard that, I said, that's exactly what my grandchildren need, financial literacy.
Yeah.
And we spoke about it, and because she said, well, there's not really grants for me. I said, yes, but you could be a subcontractor. You can go to you can find a grant for a high school, and then you can bring it to them, and you can work on the proposal with them and write yourself into the proposal.
And that's the kind of knowledge that normal people don't know, like me. And so when you get on the app, it's amazing the
It's
things
just so
that you
funny
can.
that the phone rang, and I'm like, "Oh, I pick it up. What do I do?"
Yeah.
Last week people were talking about the owl effect or the power of the platform, and it's just that because
Right.
you make yourself available out of the blue, right? There's no other platform where people literally just see you available and say, okay, this person looks interesting. I want to just chat with her. I want to get to know her because you have a full profile. and you look very interesting, right? They see CEO, they see GrantWatch, and of course they're curious, right? We're humans. We're curious to find out more about these individuals and see if there's ways to collaborate or even do business with them, right? A lot of our platform leads to business, of course.
And, as the CEO, you don't really get to talk to the people that often that are using your services, right?
Yeah.
But here I can just like, okay, I'm taking a break from my office. I'm going to just sit on the couch, pick my feet up, and I can turn this on and there's somebody to speak with. It's great.
It's so true. Can you give our audience just an overview of GrantWatch? Because like I see it like kayak or hotels.com, like it's this database and often people don't understand the full complexity of the platform. So keep it simple where like you log in and then what happens from there.
Okay, so it's much more than all of those because on the internet you have there are grants. So if somebody calls me and says, why do I have to pay for this service? I say, you don't. Go and do the searches yourself. We're a service. So what we do is we aggregate the grants, but then we go through them and we look at them, make sure that they're real grants. Occasionally something could slip through our fingers, so no guarantees, but we
Yeah.
really work hard. We check that they are real, and we then extract all the information in our own proprietary way that you need to decide whether you want to go forward. So you don't have to go right away and click into the actual application. Skim over what we've done. So you're not going to find what we wrote anyplace else.
Oh, that's
because a
nice.
Human is doing this. This is a human looking at the application, pulling out the information, rewriting it into English language, not grant language.
Mhm.
And now you can take it further. So if you're a development director and you want to bring this to your executive director, you have a page. And the executive director can take a look at it very quickly and say, yes, no, I'll bring it to the board. It's right there for you. And it links to the application. So you have that. We have all different search formats on the website because you search in many different ways.
Of course.
It's-
People love defining it and then defining it more and more. They
Right.
want filters.
Right. So we have keywords, keyword phrases, we have drop downs. There's many different ways. And sometimes you'll get different searches, you'll get different results.
Yeah.
We have another way. Since I was on Shrimp Tank, we've added something called the 990 reports. So a nonprofit organization has to file a 990 report. There are different letters after it, depending on how large they are and whatever. So a foundation will file a 990 report, and some of them will tell us exactly who they funded in the past and why they gave the money, what was the purpose. So that's really important. So if you don't want to, let's say you don't see a grant that's available right now for what you want, you might go to the 990s and put in the keyword phrase or the keyword, and then it'll pop up foundations that you can then write a letter of intent or inquiry to and ask them, will you fund me? So you have both ways to do it.
So I'm assuming you even have power users on your website, and those power users also would benefit our community to just understand how to leverage grantwatch.com better, right?
Right.
So, in terms of the membership, you mentioned it's pretty affordable. And again, so say like I wanted to send that artist grant to my friend.
Right.
So, if he just wanted to, do you have like a monthly? Like, can you just join for like 1 month?
You
Or
can join for a week, $18,
Okay.
45 a month, 90 for 3 months, or 199 for the entire
Oh, so
year.
very reasonable.
Yes,
Mhm.
very
Very
reasonable.
reasonable. If you only want it for a week, turn off your auto renew right
Yep.
afterwards. We keep it on because the nonprofits don't want to get approval every 2
Of
seconds.
course.
So it's there, but turn it off. If you want it for longer, leave it on. It's very, very affordable. Imagine that you have about 25 people searching for grants for you every day, and you're only paying 199 for the year.
Yeah,
Right?
that's like a whole management team
Yeah.
without all the cuts. I'm curious, we have this beautiful sign behind us. So, from teacher to grant writer to CEO. I want to hear a little bit about your journey of when you started to where you are now.
I started teaching for the New York City Department of Education after teaching private school
Mm-hmm.
and student teaching. And here I was, I got this job as a special ed teacher. I called every single Friday, the Board of Ed that summer. And they told me the week before school started, get down here and you have a job. I didn't even ask what kind of job it was, what grade, anything. I dropped my kids off at the babysitter and I ran downtown Brooklyn, to the New
Yeah.
York City Department of Education. Once I had the job, I realized why that job was available. I got a job as a teacher for a class which was called Classes for Emotionally Handicapped at that time, not politically correct today. And those children, they were junior high, 7th through 9th grade, and no medication in those days, and totally off the wall. There's nothing else I could say about it. If I asked them to make a change on a piece of paper, for any kind of correction, the paper got crumpled up and thrown in my face. There I was, myself, 10 students, and a paraprofessional that was quite tall, thank God. And that's what I was doing. And then the New York City decided to give certain exams, the same exams that the mainstream students were taking. And these students had to take those exams in order to be promoted.
Mm.
And now how am I going to teach written communication skills to classes, to a class like this?
Yeah.
And how am I going to have them succeed if they don't want to hear if something's wrong?
Sure.
So that's how it started. And then I started reading up on it. I was a new teacher. We didn't really have much of the internet at that point. It was just beginning. Well, in the end, I found that word processing would be a very interesting thing to do with them. And the computers couldn't hold it. Big model Tandy 4s. If you're out there and you're listening and you're my age, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you don't. It was a screen with a keyboard attached, one piece unit, and they couldn't do word processing.
Yeah.
So what happened, and it's all in the book, so I just advise you to read it. But what happened was, from there, then to my special ed supervisor, then to the school district, and there was a grant available. I learned how to write a grant. Every single day I was at the school district office. I wrote the grant, we won, and then everything proceeded from there. I became a grant writer, and I kept working for the school, then the school district, then my own business. And when I retired from teaching, I opened GrantWatch.
Tell us on the grant writing side, because often people come to your website and they're like, okay, I know the grant I want to apply for, but I'm not good. I'm not good at writing. Like, that's me, right?
Right.
I would rather just hire someone, the best expert out there. So how does that side of the business work?
Well, I don't want you to hire somebody yet. I want you to
Okay.
try your first grant on your own.
Okay.
Okay, because that's what these hearts are all about. It's that passion that you have for your business. So somebody just walking in here, like I walked in here, I don't have the same passion for Owwll, even though I like it. I really do, and you did a great job with the website
Thank you.
and the app and everything. But it's not my passion. My passion is GrantWatch, right?
Mm.
Of course.
So you need your passion to jump off the page. And if you write your first grant yourself, you may be writing the rest of them yourself, or you may say, "Mm, it's not for me. I'm going to get a grant writer for the next one." But you now have everything that you did, so they have your passion on paper. Uh, why did I write the book? Was to teach people how to write grants. And in the book, I clearly say, write your first grant yourself. But we also have another website called grantwriterteam.com, all one word, grantwriterteam.com. And there you could put up an ad. It's very minimal, $25 for a week. 4 weeks is $85. Once you put that ad in, you can now see all the information from the grant writers who have listed themselves. So it's kind of like Owwll in a
Yeah.
way.
Of
Mm.
course.
You can see their information,
Profiles.
and now you can call them and you can make your own arrangements with them. We don't vet them. We do ask them to fill in certain information. Now you can ask for their references are listed, but they may not display them. You can ask them to release it. And you can check their references and see if they match what you want to write. Now, let's say you wanted to write a grant on Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Now you're going to talk to a number of different grant writers. You want to find somebody who has an Alzheimer's patient in their family or has written grants for Alzheimer's in the past, because you don't want them to start the whole research business. If you want to write a pre-K grant, a pre-K application, you want to find somebody who's written grants for pre-K or preschool or anything, young education or something. So that's what that website is all about.
I know we talked a little bit about this before the episode, but I'm curious to hear about, we were talking about writing our own grants, your take on AI and ChatGPT, and yeah, just how that all plays into grant writing.
Let me just tell you a little story of what happened. I'm also looking to start a podcast, and we bought a domain, Grant Talk, which makes sense here,
Mhm.
right? So I have this ad out on
I
Indeed.
might have to change it Grand Queen. I don't know. I'm gonna rename it already.
That's Dairy Queen. Let them let them have that.
Exactly.
So, okay, so I put up this ad on Grand Talk, and I'm asking for the techie person to do the video and everything else. And I have 3 questions, and on this website, they let you ask for a one-way phone interview, right? So now I get to see the people that are applying and to see how they hold themselves, their mannerisms, and do they know what they're talking about. So this one guy answers, and I was really interested based on his resume. He had all the top names there that he worked for, whatever. And I'm listening to him going, wow, he's for such a young person, he's so smart. And then I realized he's reading. This is ChatGPT
Oh,
answering the
sure.
questions.
That's funny.
Wow.
So that is the problem with grant writing.
Yeah.
You can't do that. On the way over, I'm thinking, what new mnemonic can I do for you? Okay, because the book is all about passion maps and folders, which is how I broke up the one of the sections in the book so that you could figure out, get grant ready and everything. And then I said, I don't know if I'm going to use this in the future or not, but if we think about AAB, we can say audience, activities, and budget. So before you go to AI, you need to know that.
Hmm.
Who's your audience? Who is your grant going to serve? What activities do you want to do with through this money? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? And then write your budget,
Mhm.
because now you can go to ChatGPT and you can start to use it as a language model, but don't use it to write your program. If you're writing a grant for yourself as a musician, you know what you want to do,
Yeah.
right? But what if you're a nonprofit? There's a board of directors, there's an executive director. If it's a school, there are teachers. You have to get everybody on board
Mhm.
for whatever that program is, for whatever those activities are. And you have to figure out the budget before you go and start writing. Now,
Yeah.
if you're going to go to ChatGPT, you don't want them to write you a program nobody's on board for,
Mhm.
right? So that's where I say ChatGPT is great, and this is my accounting procedures. You could tell it to ChatGPT. You double sign, all checks. Uh, everything's audited once a year, whatever. You give it all the details, and you could say, ChatGPT, this is the question. Can you answer it with all this information? Yes, you can
Mhm.
use that. But do you want ChatGPT to make up your accounting situation?
I love it for grammar too, because I always made little typos here and there, even our newsletter that goes out, even for Owwll, just like the subject line, the titles of text and notifications, so helpful, but you still have to really tell it what to do. You have to
Right.
make it your own. And I think that's what you're really saying is it's only as good as, what you're typing in there. And then everyone knows that, everyone else is using it today. So I get emails back all the time on Owwll. I was like, timeout. I know this isn't the individual writing this. Like that
Right.
person
Yeah, you
doesn't
can tell.
doesn't have that in their
That
keyboard stroke, right?
toolbox. Yeah.
So like it's
Vocabulary.
happening a lot, and I just think that you're 100% correct. It's like you utilize it the right way. Otherwise, like the people on the other end are gonna sniff it out, and it needs to come right out of the page. Like if we at Owwll want to, try to get a grant, like they're gonna know if it's just coming right from ChatGPT, of course.
Right.
And I think it's so important what you're talking about.
But what if everybody sends in the same thing? It
Yep.
says, in conclusion, or in summary,
Mm.
and it
Furthermore,
says there's a
yes,
furthermore, and there's a tapestry of,
sure.
right? You know right away. Now, if you want your application to stand out, then you're not going to use ChatGPT,
Yeah.
or you're just going to use it for small
For small. Yeah.
parts.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're saying too. Like just the grammar aspects are just a couple. You use your ideas, but just making it sound a little more professional at the end of the day.
So can you
Not robotic.
can you share with us some stories that now doing this for such a long time, like these stories that have just stuck out, like it really touched your heart, where some of these companies or nonprofits, ended up getting the grant and really making huge impact in this world?
Well, one was parent to parent years
Mm.
ago. There were parents of children with disabilities. I forget the name of the organization in Staten Island, the Institute for, I don't remember
Okay.
exactly. Okay. This was the parent body. There are disabilities out there that are very unique. And you might find one here, and then one in India, and then one in China, and one in
Sure.
Ukraine, and one in Russia, and all over the world, but it's not like a cluster, right? So now, how can they communicate with other parents? So they wanted to create a parent resource center that would go all over the world. And we wrote a grant and we won.
Wow.
That's
So
amazing.
I know that this happened years ago, that these parents were able to reach out to other people with the same
Mm.
disability, because what if they had a therapy that was working,
Mhm.
or somebody else had, some medication or some surgery and some specialists, so they were able to connect that, a piece of heaven I think I have from that one.
It's interesting because a lot of the things that we're always speaking about is just connecting, making it easier to
Right.
connect, right? Your website, easier to connect people to one another, Owwll, and same with what you just talked about. So let's put Owwll, out there for a second. If you would to give me advice on what I should do with Owwll, like obviously, I didn't create Owwll for the money element, right? You knew I was successful going down the financial service route. Didn't have to do anything different. Just keep going on cruise control on the shrimp tank. And I switched gears when COVID hit. I say there's got to be a better way to connect people, as simple as that, right? And when I look at what's happening with young professionals, especially when I go to FAU and I look at the way they use this cell phone, it's all for text messaging and everything's through Instagram and TikTok today. And I'm seeing, just problems, right? Where children aren't getting the same social skills that we all got at this table, right? Where you go to in-person meetings, you talk, right? Think about your job interview, talking in person. Now, most job interviews start on Zoom or even on an audio call, right? And these skills need to be developed. So, obviously we're a for-profit company, right? We're not a nonprofit, but what would you say that we would do? Like, would we partner with a nonprofit to then encourage universities to deploy Owwll in the classroom so that way students could call professionals like you and really, get real live experience, but with boundaries, right? Because, we need boundaries around these calls. We can't just let young minds talk to anyone under the sun, right? And Owwll provides that because of the review mechanism in place. No different than like when Uber started, everyone's like, I'm never getting in a car with a stranger. And
Right.
then one day you're like, wow, I don't want to get in a car unless it's an Uber.
Mm.
If I'm going to take a AKA taxi, right?
Right.
Because you feel more comfortable. And that's what we're seeing with Owwll. So what would you do in what type of advice would you provide to Owwll if we say that one day, like we do want to get it in the classroom setting, and especially maybe even as early in like high school settings, and then eventually, of course, college?
I think that Owl should possibly have another arm that becomes
Yeah,
a nonprofit, because
yeah,
Mm.
while you're thinking about it, start now. It takes about 6 to 8 months to get approval, and that way you don't need to go.
yeah,
And if you do go to a university, you're a nonprofit, so you'll do better. But you may just be able to apply on your own. What I'm thinking when you talk like this about kids, I'm thinking of a grandson, and I'm saying to myself, well, one of my grandchildren had a unique idea, a business idea. And I said, I don't know if you can do that or not, because it's like a jump off of a main product.
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. And so he said, well, like, how do I know? So I called my trademark attorney, right?
Mm-hmm. Of
But he could have called somebody on Owl and had a
course.
discussion. Maybe he's not even going to believe me.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause he
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
great idea. He's really vested in it. And then he needs to talk about packaging his product. So he needs to talk to somebody else about that. And all these people, I mean, starting out, the kids don't have money for their ideas,
No, you
right?
search industry on Owwll, so whatever, and if it was tech or whatever it was, and then for anyone can get $1, right?
Right.
So it's as cheap as $1, especially Mentorship Mondays. I don't know if you know about that, but we have every Monday where a lot of these bigger professional CEOs lower their price to $1. So if they're normally, $100, like Jason, $100 talk to a CEO,
Right.
they lower their price to give students and other people affordable opportunities to chat with them.
So then if you
So,
do that, then the way to do that would be to go into a classroom with a professor that comes on your Owl,
mhm,
and
Yes.
actually let everybody have a session
mhm.
where everybody can use their phones in
Of course.
class,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody
And we
can
have
talk.
done that before, right?
Yeah, what we've done so far with FAU is we partnered with an entrepreneurship class in the summer. It was really hard for him to get the students paired with entrepreneurs because the class was so short. And he had each student call 3 entrepreneurs on the Owwll app. And he created, part of their project was to write a report about what they spoke about with each individual, and they absolutely loved it, right? Because they would typically fake the reports. They would talk to a family member and then have to write something out, and this was just more realistic that they
And
were
now
calling.
they can really fake the reports with AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, good point.
so,
But
so now-
Even Zoom interviews now, I bet you could like
Oh, yeah.
be searching as you're talking to someone, like what to say.
right, right.
But one thing that we did notice is that we had to put it part of the curriculum. When we try to say, hey, just use Owwll, it'll be great. You'll get to talk to other people. You could get career advice. Maybe you think you want to be an accountant. Then you talk to other accountants on Owwll, and then you're like, wait, actually, I didn't realize that business was really like that. After speaking with them, or a lawyer, right? You see
Oh, so
a lot of
career
people.
day. That's like
Yeah. So what we've noticed though is because the next generation doesn't use the phone for speaking to people, they use it for messaging people. The only way to get results is to actually put it as an assignment, which then makes it a lot harder to get into other universities. So eventually we see that we did a pilot with one class, and now eventually do it a few more times, and then eventually try to amplify this, because if it's working at FAU, it's going to work at every university. And then think about that impact one day, where we're helping the next generation really choose the right careers, and then also just build better communication skills. So that first interview they go on, they don't have that same stage fright. No different than when we were forced to speak in front of a classroom for a presentation. Well, now we're a little bit more confident if we go on a podcast,
right.
right? In
Yeah.
our first podcast interview. Well, then the third one is a little easier. So I just look at it as like there could be such impact with our platform, but most importantly, because the boundaries it creates, so that way everyone feels comfortable. The college feels comfortable, you, the entrepreneur, feels comfortable, and the student does as well.
I still remember my career day in 6th grade. I decided I was going to be a commercial advertiser.
Oh, wow.
Didn't happen, but now
Yeah.
if you think about it, here I am, and I developed the website. Every mark on the website came from me. I didn't
Nice.
code it, but I designed it. The book cover, the artist did the book cover.
Yeah.
But there it is. I'm supervising every single part. So
Mhm.
I came full circle. And how did that happen? I guess I must have met somebody at some
Yeah.
point,
Sure.
heard what
Well,
they
even like internships, that was really big at
Oh,
my
yeah.
school. And like everyone, I went to school in DC and like everyone was interning, especially like in politics, that they were into that. And all we had was the internet. And I wish that like we would have had a tool like Owwll just to even learn about careers that we didn't even know existed. Cause I feel like a lot of the internships I had were just so general, like marketing. And I would have loved to have something more specific, more unique, or even like calling someone on Owwll, a CEO that wouldn't even have thought to have, maybe it's a smaller company like Owwll that wouldn't even have thought to have an intern. And then when you just get a conversation going. So even those kinds of opportunities, I think.
I don't know if I would let the kids um, connect on their phones. I think I'd want to have a set of phones
Oh,
that
interesting.
everybody
Yeah, at the actual class. Yeah.
right. You
Yeah.
bring the phones,
Mm.
Yeah.
and then you have a short video, where everybody's your mentor Monday.
Yeah. 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 Of course.
Introduces themselves, and then everybody can pick while they're sitting there and talk to a few different people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're not really into your Owwll, right?
Yeah, they're not in the database, but we have these phones with different accounts and
Right.
student
It could just
account,
say student.
and there's disclosure. So real
Yeah.
simply is like
That's
that's
a
a
good
genius
idea.
idea,
Yeah.
because then everyone's getting incoming call. There's disclaimers, and they know there's a student on the other line, and they know there's a professor there. So the experts, are aware. There's they
Can have
can't.
the calls recorded for
Mm,
them, so
yeah.
there's nothing
Yeah,
nothing happening. Explain to the professor, all the mentors,
sure.
nobody, do not give out a phone number or whatever.
Yeah,
Only something a former teacher would think of.
yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
I'm curious, I guess, what is one of the biggest challenges that you faced going from teacher to entrepreneur, like business owner?
Well, you miss standing in front of a classroom.
Yeah.
That's really something. I miss reading to children.
Yeah.
That's something. But I took a break in between.
Mm-hmm.
After I retired, I started doing oil painting and stained glass.
Okay.
Um, And my kids say, yeah, that lasted about a minute, a little bit longer. We have beautiful things that I accomplished
Mhm.
during that time. And then, the technology was just starting to be there at that point. We're talking about, I retired in 2009.
Mm.
We took our first dollar in
Yep.
2010. So that's, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we started out with NYC GrantWatch.
Mm.
That's what we were called. And
Mm.
we grew to New York State. We started adding states and growing. The challenge was that I did not know how to code. I knew a
Mhm.
little basic programming. That was a programming language. I knew Logo.
Mm.
But we started coding in PHP right away. I
Get it
just
through our
want to
system.
go through the book quickly with you.
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
in the beginning of the book a table of contents.
Oh, okay.
So it will tell you here how it all began for me. It'll
Okay.
go through everything from my life,
Mhm.
from writing grants to running for city council,
Oh,
working
wow.
for Project Liberty, and all the way to the website. And then your questions answered.
Oh,
Every
perfect.
question that you might be wanting to ask me is probably answered here
Okay.
because we took the questions that keep coming across. And then I divided the book up again and I tell you how to get grant ready.
Okay.
And we go
That's
through
super helpful.
right, eligibility, following directions, passion maps and folders, and what you should have in your folders. And then we take it into sustainability, dissemination, replicability. And from there, I model successful grants.
Hmm.
So,
Super helpful.
and then the future of AI. So that's
Ooh.
how I broke it up. I'm hoping people find it very helpful.
Oh, it will be very helpful.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I
First
love
timers like myself.
Yeah.
And
Of
then
course.
see your name in the book.
Of course. Pam, welcome to the Owwll podcast. Do you have a question for Libby?
Hi, Pam.
Yes, I do. First of all, hi, Liddy. Thank you so much. We've been getting tons of value. I wanted to ask, what strategies do you use to tailor grant proposals to fit specific requirements of some and priorities of funders?
Well, the first thing is you have to match what the funder is looking for and what you want to do. You have to figure out how to spin it. Years ago, I always like to use this example.
Got it.
We had these giant photocopy machines, and you had to lease them for a year, and it was such a large expense for a school. But you couldn't apply for a grant to lease
Yeah.
a photocopy machine.
Mm.
But you could apply for a grant to send home parent newsletters
Yeah.
and print them out. So if you needed this photocopy machine for office work, but you wanted to send its parent newsletter, so that's how, if the grant was for parenting, you could then write your whole proposal that way, that you'd include the parents this way. This is part of your parenting program, and then you could get your your equipment.
I actually recognize Pam's voice because I called her yesterday on Owwll, and
Thank you so much.
Oh,
she
she's
helped.
there. She's there.
She helped me.
There's thing with Owwll, like people are on the go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pam, it's Ellie. We talked yesterday. You helped me with some marketing questions that I had actually. I don't know.
Hi, Ellie. How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
So Pam, you are a marketer?
Yes.
And-
Yes, ma'am.
And what do
I
you
do business coaching. I do business coaching and brand strategy. And one of the ways that I help my clients is through funding, whether that be business credit or grants, grant writing, or just finding different ways for funding. So I was asking that, and you answered a lot of the questions that I had when it came to the world of AI, because, I know that so many people think that that is the only way to do it or one of the easiest ways to do it, but it takes away the authenticity and uniqueness, I would say, of the grant writer and the actual mission of the company or what have you. So
right?
thank you so much for the value that you added.
If you use AI, you might end up with a program that you don't even want. And you
Yeah.
committed yourself to
Exactly.
something. And some people, also
Yes.
the same person that is kind of lazy enough to let AI write their proposal
Yeah.
might not read their proposal and submit it.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm getting that a lot. I'm getting emails back with the blocks, like it came right from Chat GPT because they don't realize how to copy and paste it the proper way.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, geez. I'm
Even
like,
just the
Goodness.
point that you made earlier about like plagiarism too with
Yeah.
ChatGPT and how like I was talking about having it write a song, and it just takes all the information from the internet. So it's like you have to be careful.
Right. You could have a line in your song that really could be
Yeah.
copyright.
Or if someone's applying for the same grant as you and you guys both use ChatGPT, it could be very, very similar. So
You might not get the same application from ChatGPT, the same completed
yeah.
application, but the reader is going to look at the one that wasn't written with ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm. I
So
agree.
I
Love
say
that.
if you're going to use it for parts. Give all the
Right.
information to ChatGPT. Let them give you that piece and then rewrite it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Pam,
Absolutely.
well, Pam, thank you for joining us on our podcast. You catch your entire clip. It's up on our website. We're live right now, and cut this little segment out, of course, and share with the world. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason.
Absolutely. Okay. There's one other person that I have in mind. So while I'm searching for her, you guys could chat. Got to leave Pam a review, of course. Get
Mhm.
to the next individual.
Yes. Yeah.
But isn't this cool? You could just call people on
It
here.
really is.
And even for your podcast, we're starting to see people test with their podcast, calling experts live right through the platform and plug them into the show because we have a pool of experts.
Right.
And sometimes you want a specific type to join you on your show to just talk about a certain subject. So,
Well, what we're hoping to do is talk to people that actually got grants
Mm.
and hear from them about the collaboration that went on in their organization
yeah.
and how the application was formulated. And I don't want to hear that they copied it from
Yeah. Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I know. No, I already have 3 people that I'm like going to send to your website right
Oh,
after this.
great.
Yeah. Just I know a lot of artists and, other entrepreneurs just through Owwll and
Also GrantWatch has a staff, customer support staff, and they're all based in the United States.
oh great.
And so you get to talk to real people who've been with us for quite a while.
Connie, welcome to the Owwll podcast. I am so excited to have Connie on here. Connie is going to impact millions of lives. Can Connie, you share how you're going to impact millions of lives and why, and then ask Libby a question?
Absolutely. Well, I was a theme inspector and trainer for about 7 years, and my goal was always to help people be better prepared. So my goal with the nonprofit is to help 30 million people be better prepared, more sustainable, and we're going to do that through something called Kits for Kids, where we put a kit in the kids' backpack, their everyday backpack, that has a safety kit. It has a tracker on it. It has safety bandages, mylar blankets, all that kind of stuff. And our goal is to do that through um, many different outlets, including realtors and professionals that want to help their communities and build their communities into being more secure and more sustainable.
It's great. Years ago, I remember taking my children to be fingerprinted.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
Mm.
And now they just visited recently, and I took out this envelope and I said, "Here are your fingerprints. And here are your fingerprints.
yeah.
I don't need them anymore.
Yeah.
Your husband can have them
Yeah.
in case you get lost."
Oh,
Well, I
Children
can tell you right now.
Are the children
sorry.
going to know that they have a tracker in their backpack?
Oh, yes, they'll be trained for the purpose for it. The difference today, as compared to that, because my kids were kids then, is that 76% of parents are worried about their kids' anxiety, fears, and
Mm.
depression. And kids are actually afraid. A lot of kids are afraid. There's over 78% of kids now have some kind of fear of going to school or what's going to happen to them. So
Mm.
it's a little bit different situation. I mean, we still fingerprinting is still a good idea, but we have to take it way beyond that to be able to reduce that fear and anxiety.
Mhm.
And that's really what the Go Kit is all about: is to help provide just a little bit of protection and to be able to give us a little bit of feelings of the kids are a little bit safer when they go off to school.
Mm.
And it goes wherever the backpack goes. It goes to the playground, the school, any activities they take it to. And they're well trained on it. Our Kids for Kids campaign is going to be out there looking for kids spokespeople, because one of the best ways to activate our kids to be be activists and be out there in their communities. So we're going to do a whole kid spokesperson campaign around it. I do have a question for you. We're a new nonprofit. I got my 501c3 in November of 2021, and we're just to the point now where the initiatives are we're ready to start the initiative. We've launched it. What is the best way for a new nonprofit to get the most out of their searching for grants?
Apply for smaller grants. Start building it up so that each time you win a grant, the next grant you can say, and we've managed X number of federal dollars or foundation dollars successfully. We met all our objectives. The evaluation came out great. Just keep building yourself up and listen, you may get lucky. You might look for a grant and see something that fits, what you do, and it's a lot of money, but don't pass up the $500 ones, the 1,000, the
Mm.
10,000. Go for them and just keep
Okay.
building it. And everything you write can be recycled and used again
Mm.
because it's your passion that's going to be in there. And just keep going. Go from strength to strength.
Thank you. That's a good advice because I was looking at some of these people that are getting $1 million. I'm like, well, there's no way nobody's going to give us $1 million at this point. However, I do have an amazing board of which Jason is part of, and I think, how much do they look at the people that are already participating with the grants or with the nonprofit?
Well, it depends how large the application is. If it's just a one pager on a website that you have to fill in, they may not be asking to list your board members, but you might want to include that in some of your narrative that we have these high quality board members that have experience in this, and this one has experience in that. We have an attorney, we have an accountant, we have an educator. You might want to list it if you have room. But if it's a larger
Okay.
proposal, they're going to ask who your key staff are. And you want to have all
Okay.
those, you want to have the board members' CVs, you want to have your principals that principal people in the program, you want their CVs, you want the job descriptions, everything like that. So just get it ready. In my book, I list everything that should be in your different folders so you can start getting yourself organized. That's why I call it the
I
mnemonic passion maps and folders.
That's awesome. I just ordered it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mm.
I wish somebody would order the hardcover already.
I was going to. It's actually funny, but I wanted to get it for today's
I
episode.
know that's what
And it
happened.
was like 3 weeks. So then I was like, the other one was coming the next day.
I
So
know.
I was like, I don't want the paperback. I wanted that one, but I wanted you to autograph it. So
Right. It's only, I think the difference is $4.
no, it was no difference practically. It,
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah.
more, we're all entitled, right? If something comes one day versus 2-3 weeks, we all jump to one day.
I have to tell you, the reception has been phenomenal.
Mm.
We released the book February 1st, and before I left, I checked, we sold 91 copies.
Wow.
And I didn't buy any of them. So
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
yeah, I only bought the author copies, which don't count in the numbers. So
Mm.
that's,
Great.
yeah, I'm hoping I get back there and there's 100.
Yeah.
It's just nice to know that I'm reaching so many people and I don't even know who they are. I
You
hope
hear that, guys?
Yeah.
Owwll community. If you want to speak to Libby on Owwll, it's going to sound better if you already bought her book and have researched her ahead of time. So you can go on Amazon right now.
Well, just write a review.
Yeah.
True.
I have your review. That's
Spread the
I
word.
have to leave
Absolutely.
already on Amazon, right? Because you
you
can't.
already have one
Oh, I
because
have?
you did
Oh,
it
yeah, I
free.
did.
I sent you the manuscript before it was published.
But on Amazon, you can't leave a review unless you made the purchase.
Right.
Because some people just try to spam review, so they make sure that you have to
Okay.
actually
Yeah. Well,
pur-
I'm going to
purchase it
get it.
before
Right. So
actually
you
leaving
have
a
an
review.
editorial review,
Yeah.
which is different
Yes,
under your name. So, and that
Okay.
was really nice to get.
absolutely. Well, Connie, thank you for joining us on the Owl podcast. And of course, continue the conversation one-on-one on Owl. When you see Libby go live, follow her. Of course, you get a notification.
I will be definitely reaching out, Libby. Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
participating.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, you know what time it is, Ellie? It's
It's
bedtime.
bedtime. Woo! I wish we had like a button.
Okay,
So-
so with bedtime, the way this works is, we just started about
What didn't you
eight, 9
tell me?
episodes. This is what we don't
Yeah,
tell our
this is
guests.
the
This
surprise.
is the fun
Woo!
thing.
Okay.
And every guest gets a bet, and then if we win, we get something. If you win, you get something, right? So earlier in the show, you said you are talking about starting a podcast,
Right.
right? Well, obviously, I have a lot of expertise. I failed a lot, and now I've learned a lot with the lighting in here, the camera, 3 different cameras, soundboards, microphones. I'll let you kick off your new podcast right here in this studio. So that's what I will provide. I'll give you.
Wait.
Ooh,
before we
ooh,
start. No,
ooh,
just because I know what she wants,
ooh.
which she had mentioned that she would want someone. I'm assuming you're doing this at your house, the podcast, that
Yes.
she would want someone to help her set up her podcast at her
Ooh.
house. So she was like, "Do you know anyone that I could pay to like help run
Oh,
my
yeah.
podcast and do all the technical stuff?" I said, "I'm sure Jason knows someone, but
I know a lot of people.
maybe we could offer her like a free session to set up her." But I think that would be, I mean, you can choose what would be of more value to you, but it sounds like
What, this is a bit? I don't
Oh,
understand.
yeah. So what
well,
happens
so
we'll
what,
ex
so that's,
I got too
we got
excited.
too
I just
excited.
jumped right into it.
So
Okay.
that's what we would offer you, but essentially we make a bet. So how many calls do you think?
I think we keep her to in the next 7 days, 10 calls, 10 taken.
Outbound or taken? Okay, taken. I think taken.
I think taken in her case
Yeah.
because
So many people.
so
listen
many
to her.
people on our platform need help on this subject. It's
Yeah.
always in the chat forum, and people are always asking me, "Do you know someone that could do this?"
Yeah.
And I've even been telling her for so long last year. I'm like, "We need to get you on Owwll
Yeah.
because everyone wants to pick your brain."
Okay.
So I think it's calls
Okay.
received, but her phone's
So
going to ring immediately, and it's easy phone calls. She said it earlier.
basically, if in the next 7 days you take 10 calls on our platform, which we can easily track, then you will get your choice if you want to launch your first episode here, or if you want us to give you someone for a session to set you up at your house, give you tips. That's an option too.
And an equipment list.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I can't waive their fee. I could just introduce her some
Okay,
people,
yeah, yeah,
of
sure.
course, because these are professionals that want to get paid
Yes.
to come out
Okay.
to the
So
home.
he'll introduce you to the right person for that. So those are your options of, I don't know what
Okay, we'll think
that you
about
could
which
think
one I
about.
want. But the question is, what happens if I don't have 10
Well,
calls? Is it a bet two
I would
ways?
like her. We just started a new initiative at Owwll that every 2 weeks we do a tutorial meeting. And also, we're going to start something out where it's just about networking. One big, massive meeting that we send to the entire community. Would you like to join? And we want a featured expert to really talk during the meeting. So I think we want you there.
Yes.
Ah,
I
Yeah.
think what we want to do is we want to launch that initiative with you because we know so many people need support, and you're our featured individual. And we're going to talk about how to utilize Owwll and turn relationships into bigger opportunities for your business. And then we'll have you come on as the featured expert, and you'll share because we'll of course drive more people that need help on these subjects that you're the queen of grants.
so if I have 10 calls, then I get.
And you get the
And
podcast,
if
whatever.
not,
But
I
if
have
you
to
don't, you
cancel.
have to join us for it's going to be a 1 hour session. And obviously, it's going to actually benefit you because
Yeah.
then people are going to want to buy
Want
your
to
book
buy your
anyway.
book and stuff.
So
But
it's kind of a win-win. If
yeah.
you lose, you win. If you
Yeah.
win, you lose. It's
Okay.
kind of on both
But
Or I
sides.
might do it anyway.
You might want to do that one
I
anyway,
mean,
but
you saw though, like the biggest thing if you want to get these calls is just making yourself available on
yes.
the app. Because you said in the first minute
1 minute.
someone
That's all
called
I said I was
you.
going to do was
So I don't think you have to worry about getting those 10 calls. It's just a matter of taking the time to actually go live on the app. And the first 10 calls, so everyone knows, whoever you are, when you sign up to be an expert, they are always set at $1. And we do that, one, because we want people to use the platform and understand it. And two, because you see how, if your price is at $1 versus $20, you're going to make more connections that way. So we like to show people that in the first, 10 calls. So that's pretty much it. That's the bet. You guys heard it here.
okay.
Do we have a deal?
We always have a deal.
Oh, there it is. We
Woo.
shook on it. So call her. She's $1. Get this opportunity to chat about anything
Let
we
me get
spoke about
home
during the
first.
show. Well, that's everything for our audience listening. If they want to learn more, it's grantwatch.com. Is there other sites that they should go to on social media, for example? That's the main spot.
Well, we have GrantWatch, and on the top of GrantWatch are all our social media
Nice.
buttons. If you are not going to write your own grant, or you're a grant writer, if you're a grant writer and you want to sign up, you can go to grantwriterteam.com, put up your profile, and let other nonprofits look for you. If
Mm.
you need a grant writer and you've already decided you're not going that route
Yeah.
of writing it yourself, you can put up a classified ad there. So you have GrantWatch, you have Grant Writer Team, you have Amazon. Just type in my name, Libby Hikind, you'll find the book. It's also, here's an easier way, grantwatch.com/book.
Okay.
Okay, grantwatch.com/book. The book is there. Click the link. You'll end up in the right place on Amazon.
Even our newsletter, we put her in it today, and there's a link right there as well.
And
Okay.
anybody, we have hearts on there. So if you want to give something to a teacher,
Yeah, a late Valentine's Day present. And yeah,
I just want to remind you that when you write a grant, your passion needs to be in that grant, needs to jump off the page. And that's why we have hearts.
love it.
Makes sense. Well, thank you all for tuning in. If you're listening to audio, you can always watch it on video as well. We're on YouTube. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, and I want to say goodbye to my staff. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Post-production for the Owwll podcast is done with care by Brian at Ocean Tree Creative. Reach out to Brian via the link in the show notes.